Hello, in today's video I'm going to show you how I'm using AutoGen in order to generate content summaries from the articles and blogs that I read. And I just played with AutoGen for a little bit more, and I decided to let it kind of control my Obsidian, which is my second brain. And in this video, I will show you what I ended up with, and I will guide you step by step. And just so you know, this is not going to be a very basic video. It will include some of more advanced features of AutoGen, and I will only be skimming through the basics. But you can surely check out my other videos on AutoGen. I've got a playlist for that. So yeah, let's just move to the project. Yeah, so the idea for this project is just to generate summaries. And for example, I've got an article here, like using ChatGPT for web scraping, a practical guide. And let's say I don't have time to read the whole article. I just want AutoGen to summarize the key concepts. So instead of going to ChatGPT and pasting the content of the article, I want AutoGen to scrape it so that I only have to provide the URL for that article. And this is a very basic summary example. I called it simplest summary, and like the beginning is very standard. So I've got this OAI config list there, and it looks like this. I've defined several models. I'm just using it here. And again, I've been showing you how to do it in my previous videos. Then I'm just creating an assistant agent, which is a writer, and I gave him a role. You are a professional content researcher. You specialize at summarizing content of the provided article or blog, and your summaries are detailed and well structured. And I generally add it on the end of every system message, just as a good habit, I'd say. And I've added this user proxy who just works on behalf of me. And then I just initialize the chat with a writer as my assistant. And then I say summarize the article. And I just copy pasted this URL. And let me just run it. So we run it with Python simplest summary. And let's wait for the results. Okay, we've got the results. And if you ask me, how does it scrape? How does it know what article? Like using ChatGPT for web scraping, a practical guide. I honestly don't know. I don't know if there's like anything inside like default that they use for scraping. Yeah, in general, we've got a summary of the article. Okay, now that we've got it, let's move to a more advanced script. So this was the basic, and it just worked, which is already great. But let's do something more advanced, and let's use the scrape function that we define ourselves, because like I said, I don't really know how AutoGen did it, and I want more control over it. And in this script, I will introduce you to function calling that AutoGen supports. And just a quick review, I'm adding those imports. We will use beautiful soup and requests in order to scrape data, and we will use browserless API in order to get the content of the website. And the important part here is that in the config list, I'm filtering GPT-4 and GPT-4 0613, which supports function calling, because the other models, these models with this suffix support function calling. And then I'm using a seed and timeout. And like I mentioned, then we will need browserless API key. And I've got it in my .env file. And it's pretty straightforward to get one API, to get API key for yourself. So I will just leave it here like as it is. And then there is this scrape function, and I took it almost straight. I almost copy pasted it from AI Jason, who is another YouTuber with amazing content. And if you know me, you probably know him. And yeah, so this is a scrape function that he used in his one of his videos, and I stole it. So I'm using this browserless and then just setting up a request in order to get the data from the provided website, and then I'm using beautiful soup to scrape that content and then return the content, which will be pretty much only text from the website, which isn't a perfect way of scraping, but after several tests, it seems to work pretty well with GPT-4. And then this is this important part, which is function calling for the agent. So for my writer assistant that you knew in this already in this example, because I'm just using the same project, but like I'm expanding on it. So I'm using this config writer list where I define the function with the name, description, and some parameters, and I define which parameters are required, and the URL is required because I can't scrape without the URL. And then I just pass this LLM config writer as a config file to my writer, and the system message is pretty much the same. Oh, that's leftovers. And then the user proxy is almost the same, but this is the important part that I'm telling, because in this system message, I actually tell the writer to use scrape function to get the content based on URL. And then I'm providing the function map so that the writer will know which function actually to use. And then I will initialize the chat with the very same article. And let's see how it goes. So let me clear and just say Python summarize. And the interesting part is like this summarize starts exactly the same. And as you can see, sorry, it's already scraped. This part is very important because it's a suggested function called scrape, because it knows that it should scrape, and then it just calls this function with the link I provided. And then it's executing this function. And at the beginning of the function, I've added this using the scrape function. I'm printing it out in order to actually see that I'm using the function, and I see it displayed here. And just so we know, it's just scraped all the text from this website, starting here. And the problem with this kind of scrape is that it's taking all the text from the website, and below we've got some recommendations and some other call to actions. So that's something that that will probably harm our results of the summary. But yeah, let's see how GPT-4 works despite of that. Okay, very cool. I've got the response from the writer, and yeah, it's generated a summary for me, which is very nice structured, and it includes key takeaways. And let's just check ChatGPT for web scraping, which, as you know, is already true. Parvez Ahmed, that's also true. And yeah, there's this summary. Let's say if it mentions some limitations or useful tips, just for fact check. Let me just, limitations. Yeah, it does use limitations, and it does use tips for coders. So as you can see, there are useful tips and limitations, which shows that it's actually summarized the right article. And so let me just exit, and let me double down on this part, because that's I'm really excited about AutoGen, mainly because it reduces the number of actions that I have to take compared to ChatGPT. Because with ChatGPT, I would have to just, you know, copy paste this article or use some browsing plugins. And if you don't have access to ChatGPT Plus, you can't do this. You have to do so many things manually. But right now I can see the summary only in my console output, and I don't save it anywhere. And that's also something I wanted to fix. And because I'm using Obsidian as my second brain, so that's where I store all of my notes and almost everything that is useful for my content, for my learning, and that's already something. So this is my Obsidian, and here's an example of one other summary that I generated for LangChain already with this AutoGen. But let's see if I can summarize another article. And I just decided to use another article by the same person, 7 mind-blowing use cases of the Lambda function. And let me just break down the code that I've used. And this time, and again, I'm only expanding on the previous file, on the previous script. And in the end, I'm just, okay, that's some test. I'm just changing the URL, because I'm scraping another article. And just so you know, like the beginning is exactly the same. So we're using browserless, and then there is this scrape function. And the only thing that I've added is that I've written this save summary function so that it basically saves the generated summary in my second brain. So this is path to my second brain. So that's where I store my my notes. And in my second brain, I've created this AutoGen directory, and that's where I want to save. And there's like, I'm opening the summary and just write to the file. And again, this config writer function, the first function is scrape, which was already in the previous example, and the save summary is this function. And it, if you notice, it takes 2 parameters. First is the content, and content will be basically this summary that we've got here, and the file name. And I will allow my writer agent to come up with the file name himself, but like both are required. So first the summary in markdown format, because that's also something I wanted to specify. and finally to save. And again, I'm passing this config to my writer. And I'm telling it use scrape function to get the content based on URL, and then use save summary function to save the generated summary. So I'm providing two functions this time. So again, in the user proxy, I do have to include scrape and save summary. And again, summarize the article and highlight key takeaways. But this time we will talk about use cases of the Lambda function. So let me just clear the output here and call Python try save md, and the beginning will be the same, only with another URL. So it's using the scrape function. So this is the part that we know, and it scraped another article. And let's wait for the summary. Okay, we've got the summary already, and it has, if you notice, it has 7 key takeaways. So as the auto promised. And let's just see sort method, max function, min function. Sort method, max function, min function, which is already great. We can already tell this is the right summary. And let's wait for it to save, because that's what I'm expecting right now. Okay, and then I was waiting for a while, but in the end, the writer has used this suggested function call, and then we've got these arguments, content, which is basically the same summary, it's just written here, and then file name lambda function summary, and the model came up with this name itself. And the cool part is that it executed the function save summary for me again. And what does it mean? I should be able to see this summary in my Obsidian if everything worked fine. And I've got lambda function summary with the summary. Okay, how cool is that? So let me just summarize it. All I did, except of preparing out AutoGen and the whole code, but all I did, I just told it to summarize the article and highlight key takeaways based on this URL. And it's written the full summary. So it's read the content, it's written the full summary, and it saved it in my Obsidian in Markdown format. So yeah, so really try to do that with ChatGPT. You just can't, and that's why those AI agents and AutoGen are so powerful. And I don't believe it's only a hype. I know they are staying, and they are actually the future that we can see already. For me, those results are really, really impressive, and that's true automation. And yeah, I will not show you anything else in this video, but there are so many ways that this was only kind of the beginning, and you can improve those results in so many ways. You can add YouTube summaries. You need to modify these functions that I've got, but I think YouTube summaries will be really simple from this point. Or you can ask you can be more specific about the summary itself, because I say only summarize the article, but you can make it more personalized, let the agents know you a little bit better and about your goals, and then you can say summarize it based on what you know on me and what I would need most. Or you can ask for more structured way of creating summaries, because that's just the summary, but my notes are more structured at the beginning. I've got the like more information about it, and I'd like to see where this actually comes from. So the article would be useful and the URL, but those are only some ideas on how to improve what's already really, really impressive. Yeah, so thank you for today and stay tuned. I will definitely create more videos about AutoGen, but that's it for today and see you in the next one.